And welcome to Debate 411. This is where we get to put on the table some of the issues that are happening around the world and of course locally as well, and we get to debate them right here on the program. Tonight on the program, the issue of the term limits makes it on the table. To lift or not to lift? That's the question that we're asking right here in the program. My guests in studio, we have Senator Tito Rutaremara, who's here with us to represent the RPF, and we also have Goloba Mutebi, a researcher who's been extensively covering some research on this issue and other issues in the country. Welcome to the program. And also representing the Democratic Green Party is the president of the party himself, Frank Habineza. Welcome to Debate 411. And we also have another analyst, Professor Christopher Kayumba, on the program. Gentlemen, as we start the program, I believe that the crafters of the constitution of this country had a reason as to why they put that clause or that article 101, which is now a point of debate in very many quarters. So maybe let's first try to understand, why was that article even put there before we get even deeper into the discussion? I'll start with Tito Rutaremara, because you were there during that period, that process, that time. Why do you think we had that article in the first place over there?
Well, the article is not the only article. Mm-hmm. Usually people are only discussing on article which is not the right one. The right one is Article 193, which shows how we can go about amending the Constitution.
But before we get into the amendment, let's first understand, why did we even have that Article 101 for us to put this debate into context?
Why? It's because the people wanted it. Second, why did we put that idea of 101? Of course, people have to get a mandate. The president, whether the president or anyone, any leader. That's why it is there, 101. But of course, there was a question. Now, what if a leader doesn't work well? Mm-hmm. What to do? Then that's why we put there 2 terms, so that if he wants to go on, people can stop him. Mm-hmm. But that goes with, if a leader does well, people can ask that he goes on working. Mm-hmm. That's why the article was there. And it can't go on alone. It goes with the Article 193. We'll be talking deeply about the Article 193. But because it is the main. Yes. Because they want telling people how amend the Constitution. Mm-hmm. Any part of the Constitution can be amended. Mm-hmm. But the way in which it can be done, that is it, that Article 193. It is the most important. So 193 is the most important article we should be looking at. Mutebi, you've been doing research, extensive research out there. Do you feel that what the Honorable Senator is saying right here today is reflective of what is happening today? Because he says the people put it there, and it was about giving someone a limit of how long they can serve. And if they serve well, they can continue based on the support that Article 193, in his opinion, is saying. Do you feel that we're living to this spirit today, of why we had even that Article 101 over there?
My view, let me first start with a general view about constitutions. Now, constitutions should reflect the will of the people for whom they are made. Now, the Constitution of Rwanda was made in particular circumstances, when Rwandans had specific ideas about how leadership should be installed and how it should be managed. Now, that was in 2003. That is more than 10 years ago. Over the last 10 years, it's possible that the circumstances have changed and the Rwandans have changed their view. Mm-hmm. Now, how many Rwandans have changed their view about this? I don't know. I haven't conducted a census or a survey. I have no idea. How many Rwandans haven't changed their views? I have no idea. However, the few Rwandans that I speak to, it's very clear that there are those who say, no, we shouldn't touch Article 101, because if we touch it, what if we get a leader in the future who is not good? But there are those who say, look, there is a time when we thought term limits were good. That was when this constitution was being made. And that was in those particular circumstances. Now we think actually term limits can be harmful to the interests of Rwanda and Rwandans. So you have two sides debating this issue. And for me, I think that it is only right and proper that they should be given a mechanism through which they can resolve the debate. And that is the referendum.
The referendum,
yes.
which according to Frank Habineza, is illegal at this point. They have challenged this in court, and he feels that this is not even proper to even talk of a referendum in this particular case. Why would you even think of this in this particular way, based on these two points that have already been made over here?
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, is that when you make a constitution or write a constitution, the articles in the constitution are written, they're in three categories. This is a normal way of, or legal way of writing constitutions. So there are articles which are called legid, and those which are called supre, and those which are called intangible. So the legid and supre can be amended in any way as stipulated in Article 193. But intangible articles, those ones are cannot be touched, because when you touch them, the whole constitution collapses. So Article 193 is an intangible article. It's even written there that it cannot be amended.
193 or 101?
I've said it was 193. 101 is also intangible. Why? Because it's written there that under no circumstances shall a person hold the office of the president for more than 2 terms. So it's Article 101 has 2 clauses. The first clause says that the term of office is 7 years, renewable once. The second clause says under no circumstances. You mark that word, under no circumstances. So that word makes this article intangible. So at this moment we have 2 intangible articles in the Constitution of the Republic of Rwanda, 101 and 193. So the 193 talks about who has the mandate to amend the Constitution. It says that the Constitution can be amended upon the request of the President of the Republic, with the blessing of the Cabinet, and then by the Parliament, either by the Senate or the Chamber of Deputies, but also after a vote of 2/3. It doesn't mention anywhere that people can ask for the change of the Constitution. But then it says that if there's any amendment which concerns the term of office of the President, that can go to the referendum. Mark the word, the term, not terms. The term is in this article, it's the same as which is mentioned in Article 101 in the first clause. The term of the President is 7 years. That one can be amended by either reducing to 5, which was originally we had 5 years, or it can be increased from 7 to 8 or 10. That one, but not the terms, which is the terms, those ones which you say that no person can have more than 2 terms, which is 2, it cannot be 3, or neither can be 1, or more, or none, because that one, it's not touchable.
But Professor Kayumba here has a very different view on even the stance that the two of you have. For him, in his article on the East African, he's even said that whatever is happening right now is even compared to those who are selling groceries. Like each and every one of you is trying to pull towards their side because of your personal interest. Kayumba, I'll bring you in on this one. Particularly looking at both of them have already put out their case on why the term limits were put in place, and even the window that was provided for a change or amendment of this term limit issue. But for you, you feel that they need to convince you as to why they really want this change, or they want this change not to happen?
Broadly, yes, because in this debate, I am really a social observer. I want to know what is happening and what people want. But before I say that, let me first comment on what my friend Frank just mentioned about constitutions and how they are amended and how they are changed. And he's telling us that there are certain, he refers to them as rigid articles that cannot be changed.
No, intangible articles
Aha,
are the ones I said
yes.
legally can be changed and supre can be changed. But intangibles, they are not changeable.
Let me just make one point that I actually haven't seen anybody make. Because there is the political argument to the Constitution that Senator Tito is saying, is mentioning, and my friend here, Frank, is mentioning, and the legal part to the Constitution. After the politics, after agreeing to amend, what is the legal process through which? So I want to say historically, there is no constitution that, or an article in a constitution that cannot change. What happens? It is the legal process through which that is done, and this is why we have double or single amendments. So if the Rwandan constitution, if legally they want to change it, there will be a double amendment. That means the article is talking about under no circumstance legally, Parliament can first deal with that one, amend that one, and then go back to the first paragraph he was mentioning, you amend that as well. So I just want to put off this perception that there is something in the Constitution
that is untouchable.
Because constitutions are read like Bibles. Constitutions are not, you cannot read one article of the Constitution and you are done. Article 101 must be read together with Article 2, because they are saying power belongs to the people, and through whom you get power. So
these are the people who have been sending millions and millions of signatures,
exactly,
calling for an amendment for this
Constitution. It is like the way we interpret the Bible. The Bible, if you find a provision in the Bible, that it contradicts another one, that has to be explained by another provision in the Bible. Now this takes me to the point, the question you asked, whereby Tito Tarimara is talking about the reasons as to why Article 101 was in the first place put in the Constitution. This reminds me, actually it is very good that we are discussing with one of the most knowledgeable person on the Constitution, because he was the chairperson of the review process. I remember I met him in 2011. We had an interview on this particular question. Mzee Tito told me that only one condition can make Article 101 that talks about term limits change, and that was siege or under state of a state. So that's why I would love to know the circumstances, the particular circumstances, to convince me as one of the observers, the watchers, what is it that is special that has changed? Because even my friend here, Frank, even when he argues against that, he's putting together things, for example, citing democracy. I don't think actually Article 101 or term limits has anything to do with democracy. It has something to do with the three things. Number one,
maybe you may first
let him finish.
It is to ensure that perpetuity in power is dealt with. Number two, it is to ensure that somebody in power does not build patronage systems. And finally, that person who is holding power is more interested not in entrenching himself in power, but working for legacy, such that they leave a good name. It has nothing to do with democracy. It is only a tool that you can use to ensure that there is turnover in this office.
When it comes to power
handing over. He cites democracy.
But when you bring,
because if you talk about democracy,
yes,
you are talking about the voters, people who
deciding what they want and what they want to choose. But you bring in a key element in this debate tonight.
But democracy is not about voters only.
I want to bring in the issue of what has changed, because you have asked it and you've clearly stated it. And I would like to bring in Honorable Senator here. What has really changed, Senator? Because he feels that there was already a spirit and a decision that we should not change a certain element of this constitution unless there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things, which today is not the case. What has really changed that we really want to change this constitution?
Now, the thing is, first I want to correct something which Frank has said. He said that the articles in the constitution which are intangible, that they are remaining. Well, it is only 139 is the only intangible article. That's it. And again, the constitution is the wish of the people. anytime there is even a coup d'etat, remove the constitution and write another one. The article that is not intangible is that one showing how to go the procedures of amending the constitution. It is only one in the case of the constitution of Rwanda.
I wish to disagree, Honorable Tito.
No, you will disagree after.
Okay.
193. 193. It is the one. Now, what does it say? It says there are some articles which can be changed by the parliament only when it is asked by either the cabinet, the president through the cabinet, or the parliament itself. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones. But there are others, which is the mandate of the president, the regime we are having, the multipartism that we are having, and the Article 9, if you know the Article 9. Those ones, in order to change them, you have to get a referendum. That's how it is said, and it's how we discuss them.
So it's not true what he said, that during the time that this constitution was made, you said that you created or told him the only special circumstances when the constitution can be changed, especially when it comes to terms. So what he's saying is not true.
Not especially. Yes. That is the only circumstance under which Article 101, or whereby a president can serve more than 2 terms, that is more than 14 years, is if we are under a state of war. That is when that provision can, because there is a war. Now, I am wondering, I'm wondering what has happened between 2003 when that constitution was made and that provision included, and what is happening now 2015.
You see, in that one, when we said it, in the case the parliament can vote and change it by third majority. But when the people, because democracy, by the way, is the wish of the people,
yes, if
they want to change it, they bring it, it goes on a referendum. That's how it. Or even the system that we are using, Article 9, which is describing the system that we are using, Article 54, which is describing which regime that we are having. Those ones, if people ask to change, it will go for referendum. And they are changeable when they are asked by the people.
Yes.
But on the work of emergency, as he is saying, the parliament sits and changes it because of emergency of the war. Because the president, you are not going to ask the people to go for a referendum during the war and so on. That's what I was saying. But now there are no people who came are asking. By the way, they haven't changed it. They said that we want it to be changed. We will take in the referendum. If they say yes, it is yes. If they say no, it is no. What is provided in the Article 193.
Frank seems to disagree with you on a point, but I'm going to bring him in after I hear from Mutebi, who I would love to understand from you. Do you sense, or do you read a sense of shifting of goalposts when you listen to what Professor Kayumba is asking the Honorable Senator here and what the Senator is responding as far as this issue of the spirit of the Constitution when it was being made in 2003 and what we want today? Do you sense a feeling of a shift of goalposts?
Well, Chris asked a very specific question. He said he remembers that he spoke to Senator Utaribara, who told him that that article can only change under specific circumstances. Now the Senator has clarified. He said it can be changed by Parliament if there is a war. But if there is no war, it has to be a referendum. So what is on the table now? What is on the table is not changed by Parliament. It is changed by referendum because there's no war. Now, is this a shifting of goalposts? I wasn't there in that conversation. So I'm not aware of what the details of the conversation were. But if you're asking me the broader question, is there a shifting of goalposts? In a sense, there is. And I'll tell you why there is a shifting of goalposts. I am informed that when this constitution was being made, Rwandans did not want multi-party politics in this country. They wanted parties to be banned. They only wanted one party. In the wisdom of the makers of the Constitution and the people who had taken over leadership in this country, they decided that that would have very serious implications, of which maybe the population were not aware. So they didn't go along with that. I wonder what would happen today if you suggested to Rwandans that ban political parties. My guess is that they would object. That is a shifting of goalposts.
So they were changing of times.
Yeah, they were against parties then. I don't think they are now. Now, at that time, they were very fearful of opening terms because the country had just gone through a genocide. Now, Habyarimana had been here for a very long time. And I think there was a feeling at the time, no, we have to find a way of restraining power. And one of the ways of doing it is by putting term limits in the Constitution. Now, time has passed. My guess is that, and I can tell you there are friends of mine in this country, serious people I take seriously, who 2 years ago were not willing to countenance any possibility of term limits being lifted. Now, when I speak to them today, they have changed their opinion. They think it's actually a good thing. It should happen. Now, that is a form of changing goalposts. They have changed their opinion.
Before you come in first,
the question we should be asking is, if there has been a change in opinion among certain numbers of Rwandans, why has that been the case?
Just a question, because my friend Gorova is making a very good point that I'm not sure I follow. What is it called? For example, if Rwandese are saying, the ones who made this constitution, who voted it, are saying we don't want multipartyism, and they are saying we don't want it, and then we have it in the constitution. How is that called? Because he's a political scientist. How is that called?
How is it called?
They said, you said Rwandese said they don't want multipartyism, and that is what turned up in the constitution.
Yeah, but you see,
but we said that what is in the constitution was decided by us Rwandese. So when we decided we don't want multipartyism, and we find it in the constitution, how is that called, Bwana Moderator? I would want them to help.
Tito wants to answer that very quickly, and then Frank comes in on the point that he had wanted to mention.
To answer it very quickly. First of all, we went around discussing with them that debates, competition have to be there. And when you are making competition, you have to get one line of people who are behind that idea, another line of people who are in that idea. Then we again propose them. Now, because the parties, militants of the parties we had the problem because they were moving around, making around. We are going to put in the law that they will be staying on national level until you get used. And so what happened in the law? They were in the national level. When they started understanding it, it was down to the to the district. When they understood it, it was open. But that is the law which went on changing. Because we had told them, please. In fact, we told them three things. First of all, we are going to create a forum for political parties. Because people were telling us, you people, you come to us, you tell us to come together, to understand each other, and yet you politicians, you go on killing each other, deceiving each other. Then we said, no, we are going to make a forum where people will be coming to discuss this problem. The ones we are telling you to do. And we told them, we are going to put there progressively to make you get used to the Constitution. But we told them it will be in the law. It can't be in the Constitution. And it's what happened.
If you can help us again, sorry, Moderator. How did you know that there has been progress from the point of knowledge, from the point of not knowing, that now it has progressed, it can go from the national level to the grassroots? How did you know that we have become now more knowledgeable?
Because I have been seeing other political parties which are not RPF having their cells in the cells, having their cells in the sectors, having their cells in the Midugudu. So many parties going there to mobilize I have been seeing them. I was in Bugesera.
So the information
I was in Bugesera now.
Yes.
I saw it around, having all political parties, PSD, having their political bureaus there. Then even discussing with the people in the Mudugudu, people telling you and this party and this party.
We're just about to go into our first break, but allow me to bring in Frank, because earlier on there was a point that the senator was making, and he was like, I don't seem to agree with you on that particular point. As we jump in on this one, I want us also to prepare ourselves as we come into the next break on the decision by your party to block or to try to block the process of amending this constitution, because there are those who are already claiming that you are speculating. Nobody has even changed the constitution already. Why speculations? Yes.
First, I remind Senator Tito, I was a student at the National University of Rwanda at Butare, and you came yourself. And we asked you that why do you put 7 years in the constitution? It's too much. And you explained to us that you see that if we put 5, if someone requires to change the constitution, you may have to change it, maybe like in Uganda they were doing it. But you said that 7 is good because if there are 2 terms, it will be 14 years. So that is a good time for a person to do his work, and then we don't have to change. And we believed you, Honorable Tito.
I don't think it's how I said it.
That's how you said it.
No, I've been saying it everywhere. I was saying we give 7, because by the way, that idea was not ours, it was of the people. They are the ones who proposed the 7. And again, when we discussed, we found that it is right. Because the first year, people are preparing themselves. They only work the second year and the third year, and they start thinking of another mobilization. And you find that when it is 5 years, only people work for 2 years without taking. And so we came out. Why don't we give them 5 years of work? 1 year for mobilization in the elections, and the last one, mobilization of the elections. That's it.
That's how we came up with 7 years.
So it came 7 years, and it's how we made it. If we want, I can show you the written documents we wrote from there. Then it might be someone else. I'm not the one. Because we wanted to give these people 5 years of work. Minus the first year when he's still in the mobilization, and the last year when he's still preparing for going for other elections, it doesn't work properly. Then it's why I said we should give them 5 years of work. And so we went around discussing with the people, the population around.
Hold that thought. We're going to take a very short break because we need to come back again and continue and move the conversation even forward. And of course, some of the other things we'll be looking into is, are we centralizing this debate to one person, and that is the president? And of course, what more can we do? How good or bad would a change of this constitution be for the people of Rwanda? These are some of the conversations we'll be having when we come back from the break. So do stay with us. All you need to do to get interactive is use the hashtag debate411. We are back in a moment. Do stay with us. And welcome back. You're watching Debate 4-on-1. My name, as always, is Eugene Anangwe. Tonight on the program, we're looking at the issue of term limits, to lift or not to lift, and what would be the best process of doing it. How good or bad would it be for the country if this is done? And of course, my panelist tonight is Senator Tito Rutaremara, and of course, we have Gologwa Mutebi, a researcher, and the representative of the opposition, and that is Frank Habineza, who's the president of the Democratic Green Party. And we have a good friend of mine who's decided tonight to sit on the fence and say that I'm just reading the psychology of these people, and is none other than Professor Christopher Kayumba. Gentlemen, welcome back. And before we went for the break, we were looking at the issue of why we even put the term limit issue vis-a-vis the issue or the process of even changing it. But the key thing that today is happening is that even the president himself was asking, why are you always pushing the questions to me? Are you going to stay? Are you going to leave? Are you going to stay? Do you feel that we have narrowed down to just one person? And is the president currently, at ransom when it comes to those who really are pushing for him to stay vis-a-vis making his personal decision whether he will stay or not stay? And probably let's bring in Tito, who's the closest of all of us to the president.
Well, the president, in fact, is not being. I don't see why you are asking him. Mm-hmm. People say we want to change the constitution, and it is their wish. It hasn't been the referendum so that we can see whether there is a majority of people who are going to change that one or not. We don't know. Then the president, you can't ask him. The president can decide. In fact, I think he will decide when. If ever, let's say that it passes through the referendum and it passes through, people say we want to remove term limits. Court is removing term limits, and that is the right of the people. And it's why it is in Article 193. It's why it is written there. Otherwise, we wouldn't have written it there. Well, after that, there will be mobilization, and there is a time that the NEC, the National Electoral Commission, will be asking parties to present people. At that time, it's when the members of RPF will decide who is going to represent them. Mm-hmm. Of course, it's when they can ask the president, are you ready? Mm. And it's when he give the answer.
But from what we're seeing
now he can't. I don't say what you are asking him.
Mutebi, from what we're seeing already, and these are people that you have interacted with on the ground, and the news items that we're reading out there, we have people who are even saying they will commit suicide if the president himself does not continue. So this issue of deciding whether it is the president or not, whether it is President Kagame or someone else in the party, do you think you're playing us right there?
No, I play because first of all, let's those people win the referendum. Mm-hmm. It isn't won yet. Let's first the parliament discuss it. The parliament hasn't discussed it. Because the parliament discusses it during the plenary session. Mm-hmm. It hasn't been done. And if the parliament discusses it and decides to write a referendum, because you have to know how to write the referendum, a short question, that it will be given to people, those who want the change of the change of the article, to mobilize, those who don't want to go around and mobilize. They will be given time to mobilize, mobilizing on his side and his side. Then there will be a date for referendum. People will go for the referendum. And we will wait for the NEC to tell us the result of the referendum. Mm-hmm. After that, it's when people start, it's when you can start asking the president, by the way, the Mr. President, they have removed that. Are you ready? Mm. Are you coming? Mm. Because asking him now, I don't see why you are asking him, because first of all, the debate hasn't been done in the parliament. Second, the referendum hasn't passed through. You can't ask him anything. Mm. And again, it is a decision which can, you see, the decision of people preparing for the the referendum, it can take a long time. But the decision of saying, I come or I don't come, it can 10 minutes are enough towards the end.
So you've gone in court already, you know, and he says it's too early even to bring in the name of President Paul Kagame in this discussion, and we haven't even gone through those channels. So why did you even decide to take that step? Because there are those who feel like you are preempting a situation that has not even happened.
First of all, I think I'd like to state that people are also very specific. When they're taking these petitions to Parliament, they're very specific. They want to change this Article 101 for a specific purpose, is that for the President to continue. I personally do not have any problem with the President. But the problem we have is with the law. I think the law has to be respected. Why was Article 101 put there in the first place? Is to give a peaceful transfer of power. Because Rwanda has never had any chance for any peaceful transfer of power since for over 100 years. We have had from the war of the Rushushu, where a king was burnt in a house, and then we have first another king called Musinga who was exiled and had to die from exile in Congo, and then we had King Rudahigwa who died in Burundi, and then we have King Kigeli who is still in exile, and then from there the Kayiranga died in prison, and there was a coup d'etat, and the man in the plane crash, and 1 million Rwandans died in a genocide, and so on. So we have never had any peaceful transfer of power. So we think this is our chance for the President Kagame to change history, to make history, to cleanse all those 100 years of bad luck, to give good omen to the country that we can transition peacefully to another leader, and this we are expecting it from President Kagame. So this is the main reason why we want this constitution to be respected. Two, also, is to make sure that because when leaders stay long in power, they undo the good things they have done. We have seen examples in Zimbabwe. We see even in Uganda where things were very good, but when
these comparisons, Mutebi, you've been with the people. Do you feel they're relevant? They lie within what is happening in this country?
I didn't finish my statement.
Yes, but this is exactly what you're saying here.
Yes, because if someone overstays in power, the legacy is spoiled. So we want President Kagame's legacy not to be spoiled by overstaying in power. He may, if he has done something good, we want that good thing to remain. But if someone overstays in power, like we have seen, I've said in Zimbabwe, we've seen in Chad, we've seen in Burkina Faso, even when I see what is happening in Burundi, things do not end up well. So we do not want our country to go backwards. We want to move forward and to move better. So the constitution has to be respected. But when I go why we have taken this case to the court, we have taken this case to the court. In Rwanda, they have two words. There's one which they call gutambamira. Gutambamira is like you ask, like for a court injunction. That one, court injunction, you can ask for it if the action has happened. Normally, but we did not do that because the action has not yet happened. We had our legal advice. We did what we call gukumira. Gukumira is like to block from afar before something happens. So we want the Supreme Court to block Parliament from any chance of attempting to change Article 101. And why? We believe that Article 101 is intangible article. Senator Tito doesn't believe so, but me, I believe, and I strongly stand with my statement, and the Supreme Court will decide on that case. So two, we want the Supreme Court also to give an in-depth interpretation on Article 101 and Article 193, because they are causing confusion. We believe that Article 193 can only allow the change of the term of the office, which is 7 years, which can be either reduced or increased, but not the number of the mandates. That one, we don't see it in the Constitution. So
where do we leave the people? And this is where I'm bringing in...
The people are not mentioned anywhere in the Constitution.
Because the Constitution
that they can ask for the change of the Constitution.
By the people themselves.
But
so where do we leave them in this discussion that we're having here?
People,
and their will.
People through the President can ask for the change of the Constitution after confirmation by the Cabinet. The Parliament can change the Constitution constitution. But they have articles they can change, as I explained previously. There are intangible articles, there are supra articles, and there are rigid articles. There are articles which always the parliament has been changing the articles without consulting us. But there are articles which the parliament cannot easily change. And 101 and 193 are among those articles. If you change them, you are forced into a situation of a transitional government because the constitution collapses. It's like we are making a coup d'etat for our constitution if you do that. So that's why we don't want them to be changed.
Mutebi, you could jump in here and of course give us a highlight because of this part of the people which the senator is insisting on, that this constitution was made by the people. These are the same people that are calling for its change, and he insists that the processes that we're having already right now are illegal. So are we putting the people's interests in senators opinion on the side when it comes to thinking about this particular issue?
If we assume that Frank is speaking on behalf of the Green Party, and I'm not sure that that is the case, he will tell us.
Well, I'm not sure about that. Can you first clarify that?
Well, you haven't told me. That's
no,
why
the decision we are saying, and let me clarify for that.
Can you allow me to speak?
No, I will not, because
just allow you to speak because it's now his time.
Which has to be clarified.
to speak.
The political bureau of the Democratic Green Party of Rwanda sat
Frank, we don't have too much time. Let's quickly just stick to the issue.
You will have time.
Let's stick to the issues at hand.
You will have time to answer.
And the point at hand.
The point I was trying to make is, if he's speaking on behalf of the Green Party, this would be a very strange phenomenon where a party opposes the population, because normally parties canvass opinion. I would have expected the Green Party to be out there mobilizing Rwandans to send in petitions opposing the proposal that others are supporting. That's what I would expect of a political party. But now we have this strange phenomenon of a political party not canvassing opinion, but telling Rwandans, you are wrong, what you're thinking is wrong, we know what is right, and we are going to make sure what you want doesn't happen, and we are going to do it through the courts. I find that rather strange. However, if we were to ask, is this, where do the people come in? Now, in my experience, both in Kigali and outside Kigali, when I'm talking to people, when I'm listening to people talking, most people are asking for this referendum to allow Parliament eventually to lift term limits from the Constitution. And they have one single objective in mind, that they have had a good leader in this country who they think is still capable of performing for the country, and they want him to continue in power, and that is President Kagame. I think that for me, this is what I hear, and I can't run away from it because this is what people are saying. However, there are also people in Rwanda who want to pull this a little bit away from the person of President Kagame and actually look at it as a principle. In principle, what is it that we are trying to do? Are we changing the constitution for an individual, or should we do this more broadly as something that will be in the interest of the country? Now, I attended the Congress of the Social Democratic Party, and there the debate was, we want to overhaul the constitution, and we shouldn't actually consider President Kagame. And Dr. Biruta, the president of the party, was very explicit in telling members of PSD that in considering this question, they should first put the country first, party second, and their individual views last. Now, you can see that the PSD is looking at this more broadly, or at least the leadership of the PSD wants to look at it more broadly. But the ordinary Rwandans I speak to, both in Kigali and outside Kigali, for them the objective is they are very single-minded about it. We want President Kagame to continue serving this country, and the only way he's going to be able to do that is if term limits are lifted. And this is why they are petitioning Parliament to do this. Now, for me, and again, I go back to the Green Party, and I don't know how many petitions have been submitted so far. I hear 3 million, I hear 5 million. I don't know. I haven't asked anybody about the specific number of petitions. Now, if there are 3 million, or even 5, the problem that Frank has as the leader of a political party that wants to win power in this country, because I take it that this is his objective, or the objective of his party, is he's positioning himself in opposition to the very people that he would want to convince to take sides with him. And I think that by him going to court, it is going to be a very interesting outcome in that Rwandans will say, you run a political party and you're opposing what we want. What do you want?
So Kayumba, do you read in the same way their decision to say that, we are going to the systems, the institutions, and not back to the people as Mutebi would expect, as a party that he claims or feels or believes represents the people of the country, the ones that attest to their testimony?
Yes, Bwana Moderator. Before I come to the process that my friend Frank is discussing, let me first go to the question you first asked. What is this debate about? Because I'm not very sure even me I understand. Because if I read what is in the newspapers, when I follow what is in they talk on radio, it is as if the issue is third term. That is another mandate. So is the debate about a third mandate, deleting the whole thing such that we have a free go? I am not sure. I want my friends here to also help. And that also brings me to the reasons behind that. All I have seen are some individuals bringing the idea that my friend Golowa is bringing out, that they are individuals, Rwandans, who want the president to continue because he has been good. And therefore, the debate around third term, about changing the constitution, becomes individualized. And I was wondering whether the debate about third term shouldn't be about a value that we want, as Rwandese, we want turnover brought about by a certain value in the constitution where people serve 2 terms, or we don't want it. And my suspicion is, and this is one of the things that I observe across the African continent, it is that principle in Article 01 presupposes the agreement of a people to act according to the rules of the political game, written down. But deep down us, as Africans, we are not really rule-driven. We are driven by a performance contract. We are driven because we are coming from kingship, where kingship has no limits.
So if they perform well, we give them another mandate.
I have a suspicion that this term limit and certain provisions of the constitution were cut and paste. They were not based on our values, things that we understand. And then that brings me to the point that my friend here, Frank, is mentioning. Why have they taken this issue to the Constitutional Court? I am suspicious. Why? Because, as my friend Goroba says, we have a parliament. How the parliament makes laws. How does the parliament interact on behalf of me and you? Either members of parliament go to villages, go to the voters, and ask them, what do you want? What do you want us to do? Or, across the world, voters can write to parliament. That is part of the embedded process through which the democracy works. So I don't see, maybe if I am educated by Frank, why he thinks by Rwandese writing to their parliament, because that is not the same as changing an article. They are only saying, we voted for you to go and act on our behalf.
And this is what we want you to do for us.
Like I said, Article 2 of the Constitution, power belongs to the people. They are the ones who voted. Why does Frank think it is wrong, for example, for me to write to my MP saying this is what I want? I would want really to know that. Finally, this point Frank mentions, the reasons behind the third term, that it was to ensure peaceful transfer of power. I want to say that second term limits can lead to that, but it is not the reasoning behind it, because peaceful transfer of power is embedded in the idea that power belongs to the people through whom you go and ask they either vote for you or they don't. So peaceful transfer of power has never been brought about through a provision called third term. Term limits. Term limits is an idea brought in because because of the nature of power, people do not stick to the rules. But in itself, it is not the one that brings peaceful transfer of power. Because as Tito said, constitution can even be overthrown. Constitution can even change. So what brings peaceful transfer of power is a political culture of accepting the will of the people.
And not term
And I'm
limits.
saying-
Eugene, just let me make one other point that I think Frank can comment on it if he wants to or not. The current constitution was made through a process that did not simply involve consulting the population, but it was also made through a process that involved politicians in different political organizations of different political persuasions sitting around the table and discussing where they wanted this country to go, what kind of leadership they wanted. I think that we ignore that process that brought together Rwanda's significant elites, if I may put it that way, to actually discuss in depth why has Rwanda come to what it has come to. This is in the 90s. Rwanda had just had a genocide. So the question was, how did we get here? And how can we make sure that we never again get to the same point? That involved a great deal of people coming together and having very in-depth discussions. And I remember 2.5 years ago, asking somebody in this country and said, look, if it happened that the RPF decided that President Kagame should go on after the expiry of his terms, then what will happen? And he said to me, that cannot be a matter for the RPF. That will be a national matter. And we as RPF cannot make the decision. We will consult our political partners. And I challenged him again. I said, who are these? And he said, the other political parties. Now, as far as I'm aware, and Frank is aware, and all of us here are aware, the PSD has come up with a position that backs what the petitioners are saying. PL has done the same thing. Now, the RPF is yet to pronounce itself on this matter. Now, for me, if I were to engage in a bit of guesswork, I suppose the RPF will probably do the same thing. Now, there is a consensus developing around this issue, both within the population and within Rwanda's political elites. Now, the Green Party is outside of this consensus. And I think that, again, I will emphasize this thing, that the Green Party is putting itself in a very interesting position, where it doesn't only oppose the other political parties, but it is also opposing a very large number of Rwandans who are saying, this is what we want.
So where do we go from here? You want to jump in and respond to this particular issue?
Yes, first of all, it's not that, for us, we are not opposing Rwandans. I think I have to make it that clear. We are also Rwandans, and our members are also Rwandans. So we are not, we are talking about an idea. We are posing an idea, not a person.
An idea made by who?
An idea, this idea, according to our information, the idea was first proposed by PDI, Honorable Musa Fazil, in 2010. They are the ones who first said that they wanted the constitution to be changed. And we made, Political Bureau met last year in November, on 22nd November, and we took a decision and reacting officially on the idea of PDI, of changing the constitution. We said we would not support that idea of changing the constitution and lifting of the term limits. And when this movement, PDI's movement, has been gaining momentum, where the Minister of Local Government came on board, said he wants to eat the same, Minister of Justice, and others. So we saw petitioners. We also took a petition to Parliament, if you're not aware of that. We also took a letter, a petition to Parliament. We discussed about it in our party. We said we are not going to collect signatures all over the country. We as a party, we have taken out a decision before. So we took another a petition saying that the party still stands on this. Actually, we also mentioned to the Speaker of the Parliament that we need the number of the years to be reduced from 7 to 5. That was also there on record.
And I think the issue here, because we are only remaining with 2 minutes, because the issue here, from what Mutebi says, is that your position seems to be shutting out the voice of the people, because you say you decided as a party and you didn't see a reasoning in going round to collect signatures. So this was a decision by the members of the party, the top officials, and decided to drop the petition over there. But because we are running out of time, I want us to really properly, as we finish, you'll add it in your parting words, that particular point you want to make. I want us to understand why or how good or how bad would a change of this constitution when it comes to the issue of term limits be for this country, without looking at what external factors and outsiders are saying. And as you answer this, Senator Tito, I would like us to understand, do you want a complete overhaul of the term limit, or you want just to add more terms to the already available terms in this constitution?
But you are asking to the wrong people.
Yes. What would you suggest?
I haven't written the demand for the change of the constitution. No. It is only the people who did it. In fact, I'm going to explain, because I think Kayumba is the one who asked. Is there a debate? Yes. Now there is a committee in both chambers who are studying the demand of the people and the reasons that they are giving. Then afterwards, the debate will be through the public. Public are allowed to come in the parliament. They will be debated in both chambers and voted in both chambers. But discussing ideas that has been given in by the people, even his idea will be discussed, because they will be saying, Guinea Party has asked this, and people will debate, and all people will be invited to come and follow. It will be through the media, direct, people following wherever they will be, debating. Now, if it comes out, because the debate in the parliament goes with voting, if the vote is the one required in Article 193, well, it will be, they will prepare the referendum. That referendum will give again time to all parts of the people.
So as a party, what's your position? As a party, in this debate of that term, what's your position? As a party?
As a party?
Yes, as a
party. We haven't taken any position. We haven't. Well, if you ask me as an individual, I can tell you.
Okay, as an individual.
But we didn't sit in the political bureau to decide what to do. We only let people ask. Then we will decide after the debate in the parliament. Yeah, if you ask me as an individual, of course, when you are having a good person, a good leader, he has said it. We had never had good leaders. This is the time that we have a good leader. Why should I take him away? That's what even the people are telling me wherever I go. Now, the question they were asking now, have things changed? Of course, things have changed. When we were making the constitution, it was after genocide. We had been debating, how to come out of the transition, where we were always looking for dialogue and looking for a consensus. And so they are even written in Article 9 of our Constitution. It is one of the principles that has to be taken off if there is a referendum. Because the parliament can't say, we leave off consensus, we leave off the power sharing. No, it has to go again, to go back in the referendum.
So you insist the sound of the voice of the people must be heard. We only have 1 minute to go.
But I want to tell my friend Frank, really is even, when he's talking of defending the Constitution, it's in the Constitution to tell the Supreme Court, please tell the Parliament not to do this. It is unconstitutional. The Parliament is free. It doesn't depend upon the court. No, the court judges what the Parliament has said, but the Parliament hasn't said anything. Then the court can't judge. How can the court judge while we haven't said anything?
So the Parliament is independent.
It means it is not defending democracy. Instead, it is destroying democracy. Because the court has to be independent, the Parliament has to be independent. We don't have to mix them. When we pass the law, and it passes in the journal, there, it's when the court can start studying that law. But as you haven't passed the law, you haven't debated it, you haven't done it, the judges have nothing to do. They are not allowed to tell the Parliament, do this and this.
Okay. Thank you, Senator, for your closing remarks. Mutebi, very quickly, your closing remarks vis-a-vis the issue of whether this is changed or it's not changed. Would it be good for the nation as we move forward?
I mean, who knows? I don't know whether it will be good or not. Rwandans who are asking that there be a referendum think it will be good. Rwandans like Frank, who are opposing it, think it will be bad. We don't know. We will see. However, I would like to make a broader point. I think that whatever happens as a result of the process that is unfolding, for me, I think it can only take Rwanda a step ahead in its political and constitutional development. And over the years, I have become a very strong advocate of one very simple thing, that the political development or political evolution of any country should happen within the context of its own circumstances, and that we cannot do these things mechanically, saying, you know, we need term limits to make sure there is a special or whatever peaceful transfer of power, or we don't need term limits because of this or the other thing. I think that the circumstances of any country, as they are understood or appreciated by the people concerned, should dictate the political evolution of that particular country. So for me, I'll leave it there.
Okay, Green Party. Your closing remarks as we close. Where do we go from here as we speak of this issue of the term limits? Where do we go from here?
Thank you very much. I think I'll first respond to Honorable Tito.
Very quickly, because we're out of time,
Yes,
literally.
yeah. What we have done is that according to the laws of Rwanda, and Rwanda is a country which is governed by a principle of rule of law, the Supreme Court also has the Constitutional Court. The Constitutional Court, or now in this case the Supreme Court, has the mandate to protect the Constitution. So if any citizen, it's not just a political party, has an issue that someone is violating the Constitution or something wrong is going to happen in the Constitution, everyone has a right to go to the Constitutional Court, in this case, which is the Supreme Court is the one which has the Constitutional Court, to ask or to demand the Constitutional Court to protect the Constitution. So what we have done is our legal right, and it is a democratic right, and it's a proper procedure, and the Supreme Court has a mandate to stop anyone, even if it's the President of the Republic who is going to violate the Constitution. The Supreme Court has a right to stop him, whether it's the Parliament. They have that right. It's mentioned, it's written. So there's nothing wrong we have done there. So if what would happen, what we say is that the spirit of rule of law will only be respected if we respect our own laws. The Rwandan Constitution is too young, it's not even 20 years old. So if we start changing it now, so how many times shall we change? If we get a bad leader tomorrow, if we do another referendum? No, we think that the Constitution should remain the way it is, and then we start getting accustomed. Because good leaders, like if President Kagame has done well, we should actually reward him, give him a big recognition, make him one of the strong icons in Africa, better than Mandela, so that he can be an exemplary leader all over the world, but not changing the Constitution. Thank you very much.
Professor, do you still share the same view you had when you penned that article that you penned and said these ones, you know, those who are in power today are supporting a change because they want to protect their interests, and those who are not supporting it want to be in power, like the Green Party and all that? Do you still share this in closing?
Yes, because, Anango, this is the point. I have not seen points, reasons advanced on the basis that changing the Constitution, removing term limits, removing Article 101 is broadly good for everyone for reason A, B, C, D. I have only seen advocates of changing that Constitution because they have a good leader now. And therefore, and whoever is supporting that good leader is advancing it because he has done certain things. Now I am wondering, when you don't have a good leader, because even me, because if it were for a person, in this case, the president who has done good things, actually would do two things. I would, if it is for this good leader, I would do two things. One, I would put a special provision, like they did in what is this country? Namibia, for Nijoma. They put a special provision that because this leader is good, because he has done something good, we want a special provision for him only. Or likewise, I would do like in South Africa. If, for example, ANC has a bad leader, a bad president, the ANC that has a majority can recall. So I am still as raw as I came here because nobody has convinced me from a broader standpoint that these are the reasons. And if it were for President Kagame, actually, I would argue using 4 points, which have not been argued. One would be character, that somebody is able to objectively remain on a point. Number 2, that he understands the reasons of the state are different from the reasons of individuals, you and me,
and therefore he does not build patronage, such that he is rewarding brothers and sisters. And number 3, that he understands the relationship between money, resources, and holding political power. And finally, he rewards the youth. If you look at State House, there is no single person who used to hold a very high position, just at State House as one example, who is still there. Some of the people who are key decision makers there, they were students at the time he came to power. So the reasons they are advancing are not the ones I would give, but I would not say we only have to change this provision for an individual. I would look for other alternatives.
Thank you.
Tito,
let me seconds, because
1 second.
Yes.
Now let him wait for the debate. People are only bringing in ideas. The debate will be there in the parliament, in the Senate, in the political parties. Then it's why you will see perhaps the ideas you want, they will pass there. Perhaps there will be other good ideas. They haven't debated. No one has debated. Only people are asking. The debates are going to be opened by the parliament. And the debates will be open to each and everybody. Now to get which one. Should we give him special? Should we do this and this? Those will come.
So they will
in
come
the
in.
debate.
So allow me to close the show at that particular point, because you say the debates are coming, but of course we are going to continue talking about this issue on this platform and other platforms that we have elsewhere. And of course, I want to thank you so much, gentlemen, for being on the program. Thank you for your insights, and I'm hoping that whoever has been watching has picked whatever side or opinion that they have on this particular debate. Asanteni sana for being on the show. And there you go. We bring the curtains to the program on that particular note. Senator Tito says, let's wait for the debate. Hold your horses. Stop making judgments or conclusions. It's way too early. This is what he says. But of course, let's keep this conversation going. All you need to do is use the hashtag debate411, and we'll meet again right here. My name, as always, is Eugene Anangwe. Goodbye for now.